Segment 2 of the Chris Richman Show for Friday, May 16th, 2025 is on. It is, it's a good day. It's Friday. I'm glad. It's never a bad thing with the weekend. I mean, I enjoy the week, don't get me wrong. And this week has been a little bit, it's been a little more frustrating than maybe the previous ones, because trying to figure out the whole video thing has been a chore, let's put it that way. But it's been a good thing. I like it. Anyway, I had some things come up over the break, which is good. Good to see this. We have some really, really good news to start off with today, guys. Or start off this segment with. The Department of Justice, finally, we've got some good news coming out today about the DOJ. They have dismissed, they've asked the courts, the federal government has asked the courts to dismiss its appeal in lawsuits regarding forced reset triggers. Now, if you've never seen a forced reset trigger in action, it's awesome. It is about as close as you can get to true machine gun fire without being a machine gun. Bump stocks, those are good, but they are, the thing with bump stocks is it takes a little bit of skill to do it. This does not. And what it is essentially you have a cam of some sort, and instead of when you fire the thing just hitting the sear, the hammer coming back and hitting the sear and then holding it, what this does is it actually forces, when it comes back into battery, it forces the sear to trip. It forces the trigger, rather, to reset. It doesn't make the sear trip. That'd be fully automatic. It forces the trigger to reset. So if you push your finger against it and hold it, it's going to force the trigger to reset, and you're going to push it back right away. So it's not an automatic gun. If you just pull the trigger and let it go, it won't fire another round. Even if you hold it with a very light touch, it's still not going to pull around. I mean, you could have it enough to where you could break the sear, break the trigger, and it might fire another round. But if you were light, who knows? It's pretty cool. Forced reset triggers are neat. Let me see if I can find a video here. Oops, helps if I spell it right. Forced reset trigger. There it is. Of course, and this is all over the place. Lawrence DeMonico, who was the head of, oh, good God. Here, hold on. Let me just get this going here. Start this off.
Hey guys, Lawrence DeMonico here, president of Rare Breed Triggers, and I'm here today to officially report that the fight is over. We won. It hasn't quite sunk in yet, so I'm going to say it again.
Yep.
We won. Yeah. So if I seem a little bit lighter today, with a little less anger in my eyes and a little less stress on my face, it's not because my wife has me on an amazing skincare regimen. It's because we did it.
So part of this, that's cool. Part of that too is in addition to dropping the appeals and whatnot, the DOJ has also promised, they conceded on all points, they're going to return all seized forced reset triggers from Rare Breed and otherwise. They are going to drop their appeal in the Fifth Circuit and all the other cases, and they pledge not to touch FRTs in the future. Now, that part, let me put it this way. They'll be good for 4 years, but, at some point in the future, who knows? ATF, if they don't get rid of it, it could go completely south again. You never know. So, that's cool though. I mean, for right now, that's awesome. And it's funny because another guy right down below it, if you guys can't see this, he says, if forced retriggers made regular guns into machine guns, I wouldn't have 35 NFA stamps and a bunch of real machine guns costing $10,000 to $50,000 each. So this guy apparently is quite wealthy. But anyway, now as for what a FRT sounds like, let me show you here. So this is Garantham, who is one of my favorite content creators on the internet. Love this guy. He's hilarious. It's awesome stuff. So let's hear what an FRT sounds like. And I will tell you, it sounds a lot like a full auto weapon. So anyway, you get the gist. The cool thing is you can buy an FRT anywhere. Or not anywhere, but there are retailers that do it. Rare Breed sells them. There are other triggers as well. There's what's called a super safe trigger, which is a similar setup. So anyway, good stuff. Glad to see it happen. Finally, we get some good news about the ATF. I am ecstatic over that. That is good stuff. And yeah, glad to have it finally happen. All right, let's get back to the bookmarks here. Let's see. So we can take those off there because we're done. The tolerant left was on display, and this is going to be our part for this segment of
Stupid Libs.
That's right, Stupid Libs. We'll start off with a so-called woman who actually...
That ain't no woman. It's a man.
That's right. That ain't no woman. It's a man.
It's a man.
This was at a Turning Point USA function. I'm not sure where this was, and I think I've seen this before, but XXXY was there as well. And let's see how this tolerant, understanding, well-meaning liberal reacted to Turning Point USA's table. Now she's taking tomato sauce and spraying it all over the table, the signs.
What, you worried I'm going to stain your fucking signs that are telling lies?
Sorry for the profanity.
I'm sorry.
Now, why someone doesn't stop this person is beyond me. I mean, I know they're...
I tried to talk to you, asshole. I just tried to talk to you. Alright, then.
Still pouring. He is still pouring stuff all over signs.
Getting this stain out.
Putting it on the people as well.
Hello. Could you please not do that?
Why?
Because this is our stuff.
Can you please not do this?
We are allowed to table here. We actually have a permit.
Yeah?
Yeah, we do.
I'm not touching you. I'm grabbing your phone.
Well, that's yeah. You can't touch his phone.
I'm not touching your phone. I'm
Yeah.
covering the camera.
Okay.
You're not touching it.
Why are you here?
Because we have a right to be here. Why are you here?
Because I have a right to be here.
Okay, so why are you damaging our stuff?
And then the coward just walks right off. So this is the
tolerant left.
Yep, exactly. The tolerant left. Exactly. You will not see this happen at a liberal convention, right? Or if there's a liberal group at a table. You won't see a conservative walk up, start putting stuff onto a person. Now, right about 2 seconds into this, 3 seconds into it, this guy tries to put tomato sauce onto someone. Now, personally, I kind of wish that guy would have done it because then he could have said, oh, this person's attacking me. If you get my drift. Anyway, yeah, it drives me nuts that people, I mean, I understand they're trying to not be, they're trying to be tolerant, as it were, and they know that if they respond or something like that, it'll be that the police will go after them, or the university will withdraw their ability to be there. But at the same time, there's no excuse for this. That student, if that's a student, should be suspended or expelled. Now, I understand free speech. I do. I get it. That person has a right to be there. They have a right to disagree. They do not have a right to destroy another person's property. That is absurd. Absolutely, completely absurd. And these people need to be held to account. These people who are doing this. Now, not all liberals are like this. There are people out there who will engage you in conversation. They will. But unfortunately, the majority of them have become this, especially the younger ones. And actually some of the older ones too. Anyway, So that's, wow. That's not surprising. I wish it was, but it's not. All right, now let's move on to the next thing. So never doubt that a conservative can find, or conservative group can find a way to make something negative into something funny. Case in point, you've heard about this 8647 thing. We talked about that in the first segment with Jim Comey. Well, the Firearms Policy Coalition had some fun with that, and they said 86 NFA. So in other words, the National Firearms Act. Another person, and this is obviously a bit more suggestive, said 69 AOC. Fair enough. I suppose if you're into her that way, you know, that's fair enough. They've had fun with it. Now, one person who did not have fun with it was Ed Krausenstein. And for those of you who have never heard of good old Ed, Ed's kind of a piece of crap. Him and his brother are, how shall I put this? They're liberal paid influencers. They have a very sketchy background, and I'm saying that as nicely as I possibly can. So let's see what happened when Ed put out the same thing that Jim Comey did, and he put out 8647. Let's see what happened with Ed Krausenstein. And by the way, before I play this, Dom Lucre saw this tweet and said, hey, this needs to be investigated. These guys, I'm calling for this. They cannot get away with this crap. This happens all the time. We would never say, we on the conservative side would never say 8646 or 8644, as we talked about last segment. Anyway, let's see what happened to good old Fast Eddie here.
Moments ago, the Trump administration just had the U.S. Secret Service come to my house.
Okay. Moments ago, the Trump administration just had this. Why can't people just speak normally? Now, to be fair, I've always wondered what the Krausensteins sound like, and he sounds exactly like I thought he would, if you get my drift.
You might be wondering why. Because yesterday I made a post that said 8647, which means, if you look it up, get rid of Trump, as in impeach Donald Trump, as in 25th Amendment Donald Trump, as in vote Trump out of office. Now,
he's doing cuts on this. He didn't just record this off the cuff, for example, like we're doing here. No, he did retakes. He spliced footage together. That should tell you something too. Now, he's reading this very obviously off a prompter because here's the eye line and he's looking right here. Okay, that's fine. If you're doing like I do and I'm reading this right now, obviously I'm not looking at the camera. And I understand also, again, that maybe, you know, get into a little bit of legalese here. I get it. Totally get it, actually. But again, it's rather funny to hear liberals not be able to have spontaneous thoughts or carry on a conversation, supposedly a conversation, without it being on paper. Let's listen to more of Eddie.
Why, you may ask? Because last night on the news, Donald Trump made the claim that 8647 means assassinate him, which it doesn't.
Okay, so again, he cut there. So here's the thing, Ed. It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter that you said, oh, well, no, I meant, impeach him, or I meant vote him out of office. It can be taken as to mean 8647. So here's the thing. If you put yourself in their shoes, Ed, in the Secret Service's shoes, you are charged with protecting the president. And guess what? Your reputation with this president is not exactly great right now, given he almost got himself killed, or he almost got killed. He didn't get himself killed. He almost got sniped, okay? Missed by that much. Only by the glory of God was he saved, okay? Y'all missed someone sneaking into the bushes at the country club there. So if I'm a Secret Service agent, the director of Secret Service especially, and I see this ding-dong, I see Jim Comey, right, who has clearance and who has contacts, tweet that out, that's a big enough problem. But then I have this little pansy going on and saying, oh, I'm going to tweet this out too, knowing full well that President Trump, what his opinion on it was. He had plenty of time, Krausenstein, to see that. I mean, how stupid do you have to be? You're telling me that you saw all the stuff that happened this morning, okay? And he did. This guy's not dumb with social media. Him and his brother, Brian, have made millions on social media. Millions. They're not clueless on this. So you're telling me he wants us to believe, Ed does, that, oh, I didn't mean any of this. No, I didn't mean that. Even though he's seen what the reaction to this has been. And the fact that, we're taking this kind of seriously. And then he goes and does it anyway. What did you expect was going to happen? I'm dead serious. What do you think was going to happen?
Absolutely never, ever call for violence against anyone, let alone the President of the United States. So the Secret Service agents were extremely friendly. They were like, yeah, we understand. It's just something we have to do because Washington told us to.
Okay, hold on.
Washington told them to come give me a visit. That's what he said. Trump wants to be a dictator, and I will not be intimidated.
Okay, so I kind of believe what he was saying up until that point. Oh, we know. We just have to do this because Washington told us to. That did not happen. That did not happen. I want to see the recording of that happening before I will believe it. Otherwise, he's making this up. He's making it seem like, oh, even the Secret Service thinks Trump's insane. That's what he's trying to, to imply here. He wants you to infer that. He's full of crap. This guy is, I've known that for a long time, but he is way out there full of crap.
Into not voicing my opinions or my dissent against
Okay, so did anybody say he couldn't voice his opinions or dissent against Trump's?
him ever. When Biden
and again,
was
another cut there. So again, has anybody said that Krassenstein couldn't say, I think Trump should be impeached. I think he should be out of office. No. But when you make a comment that can be construed as assassinate Trump or assassinate the president, whatever one it is, you're going to get a visit. You're going to get scrutiny that you probably don't want.
Multiple large social media accounts on the right use the term 8646, meaning get rid of Biden.
Anybody remember seeing any of that? Because I sure as hell don't. Again, show me. Show me where. Show me where it was 8646. Show me. Until I see that, I don't buy that for one even slight second.
When Biden was president, multiple large social media accounts on the right used the term 8646, meaning get rid of Biden. But now they want to create this new meaning in order to go after people who disagree with them. We're not going to become a dictatorship. Keep fighting back in a non-violent way.
Yeah, great, Ed. I'm glad you say that. Keep fighting back in a non-violent way. Curious, just one thinking here. Were you supportive of Antifa and Black Lives Matter, Ed? I'm curious. Were you one of these people who supported them? Were you maybe okay with some of the violent trans activists that have been going on, like that person we just saw a couple minutes ago, so-called trans person? You supportive of them? Because you keep saying non-violent way, and yet your actions don't match your words. Not even close. It cracks me up. These people think we're stupid. They really, really do. They think we're dumb as a rock. Oy. Okay. Let's see here. This thing with Biden. Let's shift gears for a minute here. Actually, let's go and take a real quick music break here because we're about on time. Let's take a quick music break here, and we will come back and move on to other topics. All right, back for more with the Chris Richman Show. Thank you for joining us. All right, let's get into some other topics here real quick. I want to this was on the cool down or whatever it's called. It's a couple days old. I don't know. It's something I wasn't super like major needing to get to, but it kind of fits today's topic list, I guess. City once called the, quote, most polluted in America earns new title after decades of transformation. Legacy of change. Subhead, other cities are on their way to improvement too. AFAR reported, this is in the article itself, written by Letitia, I don't know, Johnson on May 10th. So about a week ago. AFAR reported that after being voted America's dirtiest city decades prior, Chattanooga, Tennessee has received the honor of being the country's first national park city. In 1969, Chattanooga was labeled the most polluted city due to unregulated emissions from its industrial sector. The pollution got so bad that even daytime driving required headlights. However, the community didn't take that label lightly and got to work. Eventually, Tennessee's fourth largest city created more spaces like trails and parks and expanded the waterfront. The National Park City Foundation, a UK-based organization, not the US-based National Park System, agreed that the city met the 23 criteria to receive the honorable distinction as a healthier and sustainable urban area worthy of being a model for the future. So the Brits made this. The Brits made this name. Whoopity-doo. So how do they do this? Let's look through this. Conservation efforts also help secure food supply for all. Pollinators thrive in native vegetation. Oh, here we go. I'm sorry. I went one paragraph too far. Green and blue spaces aid in better health as people walk, run, hike, bike, swim, and paddleboard with ease. Accessing these designated trails or the 13-mile Tennessee River Walk can reduce reliance on cars, a major contributor to carbon gases that overheat the environment. Okay, so walk, run, hike, bike, swim, and paddleboard. Okay, great. That's all fine and good, but it also causes a lot of messing up with the cars in town. Anyway, more vegetation giving off oxygen and absorbing carbon dioxide promotes easy breathing and reduces the likelihood of respiratory illnesses like childhood asthma. Huh. Wait, so if that's the case, then the carbon, we don't need to sequester carbon because the vegetation will take it and turn it into oxygen, which is better for all of us, right? Isn't that weird? Because you hear these liberals start talking, and the only way to battle these carbon pollution is to either sequester it or buy offsets, which I've never understood the whole point of offsets. That to me is just the ultimate grift. But I find it hilarious. They're talking about they're talking about bringing in Arlington, Texas has brought in 400 goats to eat up invasive species in a local park. Oh, I bet that park smells wonderful during the sun or during the springtime and summer. Yeah, wow. So this is all neat and good, and I'm glad Chattanooga is doing better. But again, how is this any different than the way most people would run their city? I mean, you look at, for example, here in Washington, you have the northwest part of the state pissing and whining and complaining about the eastern side of the state. You guys are, causing all this pollution, blah, 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 with water from the Columbia River. Okay, but we're also using it to farm, which creates a carbon sink because all those plants suck up all the carbon. Meanwhile, you idiots on the northwestern part of the state that are complaining about this, you guys are the ones who are tearing up forests left, right, and all over the place to build houses, to build roads. So who is really doing more damage to the environment, I wonder? Of course, when you say that, they don't answer. They go and try and change the subject. Big surprise. All right. Let's move on. The Biden thing. Actually, you know what? Before we get to that, let's go and talk about California here real quick. This California county has the highest death rate for climate change-driven wildfire smoke. This is in the San Francisco Chronicle. Climate change-fueled devastating California wildfires between 2006 and 2020 contributed more than 5,200 deaths statewide from harmful wildfire smoke particles, according to a new study. The tally is greater than any other state over the 15-year study period. A rural California county, Trinity County, had the country's highest rate of deaths from climate change-driven wildfires and microscopic smoke and soot particles, known as PM 2.5. Okay, so let's think about this for a second here. The question, of course, that begs to be asked is, how do you know if a wildfire is climate change driven or just regular? I mean, how do you define that? And where are you getting that data from? Let's see here. Let's see if they tell us where this is from. Climate change is here, said author Bev Law, an emeritus professor of global change biology at Oregon State University. Wow. First of all, perfect name for this person, Bev Law. And then emeritus professor of global change biology at OSU. So that's Corvallis, by the way. I'm wondering if they could reduce the cost of tuition at Oregon State by getting this idiot off the payroll. Because, really? A professor of global change biology. Hell, I could tell you that, and I don't even have a PhD. The biology, the planet gets warmer and the planet gets colder. You can look at it, it's cyclical. Thank you. I'll take my sheepskin now. That's where we're at. They have this graph. Again, if you're watching the video, you could see it. If not, I'm sorry. I'll explain it as best I can. Effect of climate change on deaths from wildfire smoke. Estimated average annual deaths per 100,000 people from 2006 to 2020 in each county. Now, 2006 to 2020. Why did they pick that? And of course, anywhere in eastern Washington, in most of Oregon, North Idaho, going down into central Idaho, western Montana, and northern California into the Central Valley there. Oh boy, it's bad. But oh, look at that. Northwestern Washington's just fine. Huh. Weird. And California all of a sudden starts to get better as you hit San Francisco and go down the bong pipe until it's pretty much gone by the time you hit south of Los Angeles. Weird. Huh. Okay, so again, let's see if they have the study. They talk about the study. Who did the study? According to a new study. Let's click on the link and see. Remember, always click on the links. This is from nature.com. Yeah. Anthropogenic climate change contributes to wild, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So again, 2006 to 2020. I'm still not understanding why the 2006 part and how they figure that out. This is a long paper. Anyway, let me put it this way. I would doubt this strongly, very strongly. Oh, shoot, of course. Oh, I was on news. That's right. Because here's the thing. Again, how the authors estimated. You see the word estimate a lot in this. Estimate. How do you know a fire was caused by climate change? How do you know? When it comes to California, a lot of that is poor forest management practices. They don't clear cut if they harvest. They don't clean up the fuel underneath the trees, right? Trump talked about that. They don't have adequate, now from 2020, so maybe, I don't know. But do they have adequate firefighting protections? Water and all that stuff. Obviously, this last little bit here, this last part of last year, they did not. But again, how do you know it's climate change driven? And are you sure that you didn't accidentally throw in maybe some arson caused ones? I'm just curious. What's the criteria? And again, you're estimating this. It's hilarious for me to see these studies because nobody looks at them and asks the questions. Any person with half a brain would look at that and say, well, how do you determine that? And then how do you know their deaths were caused by particulates? Now, did they do autopsies and said, yep, this person couldn't breathe because they had all this lung damage, Okay, fair enough. But at the same time, are we sure it's that? I mean, let me put it this way. If it wasn't for the fact that I live in Washington State and I got to experience the incredible dishonesty that is the Washington State Department of Health during COVID, maybe I wouldn't question this quite as heavily. But when you've got the state of Washington counting people who commit suicide and happen to have COVID when they committed suicide as COVID deaths, I tend to be very skeptical of anything that comes out of the government or any kind of study that the government likes to quote. When you have, again, I could see this being, this person was a heavy smoker and had emphysema or something like that, but they died when this wildfire was going on. So we'll just say that they had particulate matter in their lungs and that's what killed them. Not saying that's what happened in this story, but I'm saying I could see that happening because then we get more grant money because then, we're important and we get published in the San Francisco Chronicle. We're important or we get more money because then people want to give us money to do a study for them. You see how this goes. This is one of the reasons why I didn't go into science because I saw very soon after, when I was in college and after I left college, I saw the corruption. Was it as bad as what it was in 2020 with COVID? Not even close, not even remotely close. But I saw people when I was taking classes talk about things that were not even part of the class structure, like they were experts on it, like they knew everything about it. And I'm like, holy crap, I want nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that. No, thank you. So no, I am totally good not being involved with that. But again, anytime you see this, question it heavily. For example, over 4 million acres burned across California in 2020, while the previous year, less than 280,000 acres burned. California wildfires have become more extreme in the past decade, with the state's 9 largest blazes on record, all occurring since 2015. Okay, but again, it's not just, you guys love to say it's just climate change, it's just this. No, it's poor forest management. One, again, it's poor preparation. And again, it's, are we getting hotter? Maybe, but why would you write this? Okay, great. It's warmer than it was, say 3,000 years ago. Okay. And 3,000 years before that, maybe it was colder. 3,000 or 10,000 years before that, it probably was colder than it is right now. And then a million years before that, it was probably warmer. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know. I just find it remarkably self-important that these people assume this is what causes things. They assume that. I don't know. I don't understand how you can do that. I don't understand how people can make money off that, but they do. So, all right. Andy Bashir. Andy Bashir is, according to the Politico, making serious moves for a presidential run in 2028. Now, for those of you who have listened to this show, either this version of it or one of the variants before, you know that I have been one of these people who have said that, yeah, we need to keep an eye on Andy Bashir because I think he will run. I think he is one of the few Democrats out there that the party could run that wouldn't be an absolute disaster. AOC would be a train wreck. She would get destroyed, absolutely dominated in any kind of electoral cycle. Same thing with, Pete Buttigieg. He'd be laughed off the stage. Someone like J.D. Vance or Ted Cruz would make mincemeat out of him. Tulsi Gabbard, all those people would absolutely destroy him. Sorry, cough button. But I don't know. Let's read this article real quick. Andy Bashir isn't just saying that he would, quote, consider running for president. He's actively laying the tracks for a potential 2028 bid. He's meeting privately with donors, recording a podcast, and regularly popping up at national events. A former Kamala Harris communications staffer is consulting for him. And he's speaking at the Future Forward Donor Summit this weekend in California. See, that's ballsy because Gavin is setting up a run for 28. That's why he's moving towards the center. He's going to try and come in as the centrist candidate, even though he's not even close. Conservative activist Charlie Kirk has name-checked him as among the toughest Democrats to beat. I would not disagree with that at all. The selling point for Bashir, the popular two-term governor of Kentucky, again, very red state, by the way, Kentucky, is his proven ability to win in Trump countryside while still running as an unapologetic Democrat. But he's also done that by flying under the national radar, leaving him in relative obscurity that he must now overcome. The challenge is translating what he calls his, quote, reasonable and, quote, common sense Kentucky story into a national Democrat primary campaign, and testing whether his low-key personality can excite major Democrat donors and primary voters and break through a fragmented media environment. Okay. So, and I'm going to kind of just stop reading this right now because, well, that's about as far as I would care to go with it. Here's the thing. And this will be something, it'll be interesting to see if Gavin and Andy Bashir do this. And the same thing with AOC, honestly. AOC probably not because she's going to be campaigning. She's up, right? Every 2 years. If Bashir is not up and if Gavin is not up, it'll be interesting to see if they go out and they campaign in close areas. Okay. For these candidates, in these tight districts. So, for example, let's say you're in, I don't know, Nebraska, right? Or let's say Bashir goes to North Carolina because they're right there next to him, right? Relatively. And Bashir goes and starts campaigning against Tom Tillis or helping whoever's campaigning against Tom Tillis with their campaign. He starts throwing his name behind it. He endorses, yada, yada, yada. If he can do that, if he can kind of become the kingmaker, as it were, like if he has a really good track record, if the candidates he endorses win, and he gets that reputation as, oh, this guy's really gets it. He got us wins here, he got us wins there. Then it's entirely possible he could be a very serious Democrat candidate. And the same thing goes with Gavin. Gavin Newsom definitely is more well-known than Andy Bashir for those people outside of politics. Gavin's got that slick personality. He is all over the news, being in the largest state population-wise in the union. He's very friendly with the camera. Whereas, like they said, Bashir tends to be more lead from the background and call it good. So we'll see. And of course, there's Gretchen Whitmer out there too. I've forgotten about her, but maybe she'll try and run. So to me, it's not just getting out and doing things. It's going to be how he does them. If he's serious about this, because he's not Obama. None of these guys are Obama. They don't have that ability to just walk in and go, wow, what a speech. I mean, let's face it. If Obama hadn't given that speech at the Democrat National Convention in 2004, if he hadn't have done that, he wouldn't be where he is today. No question. He would not be the a now retired 2-term president. No way. But he did. I mean, he overcame Hillary Clinton in the primary for the 2008 election. And that to me was tougher than beating John McCain, honestly, or Mitt Romney. Much harder. But he did it. And so with Beshear, you don't have that. You have people who really favor Newsom because, again, he is from California, and California is a big state. But to me, they're making a mistake. Just as a person who's looking at, if I were a Democrat strategist, I wouldn't care about that. I wouldn't be worried about Newsom at all, honestly, if I were a Democrat. I'd be like, Gavin, we love you to death, man. You've done good work for the party in California, but you're not going to win the presidency. You're too dividing. Beshear, on the other hand, is more of a centrist. Okay, he doesn't have to play act to be a centrist. Now, he's a liberal. Don't get me wrong. Beshear is. He's a liberal. No question about it. But he comes off as more conservative. And he's not a wacko lunatic, way the hell out there liberal like Newsom is. So, again, it's going to be very interesting to see. I think, like I said, I think Beshear needs to go out and be a kingmaker first. He needs to get endorsements in on candidates he knows can win and then help them over the line. If he does that, he's got the nomination wrapped up. I think that'll be the tougher fight, at first. And then he'll go up presumably against Vance. And that's going to be a very interesting contest. Vance, I think, is a superior debater, but Beshear can say, hey, I was a Democrat governor in a blood red state. Okay. I was popular. I know how to work with everybody and bring the sides together. BS, but still, that's the classic Bill Clinton, Barack Obama playbook. I think Beshear could pull it off. So of all the people that could possibly run for the presidency, to me, Andy Beshear is the number one I'd be worried about, followed by Newsom and Jared Polis from California, of course, for Newsom. Jared Polis is in Colorado. Those are the ones I worry about. The rest, honestly, don't strike me as being able to do anything. AOC, give me a break. Okay? J.B. Pritzker, not a chance in hell. He's got the money, but he'd get torn apart. Absolutely torn apart. So, yeah, we'll see. All right. Now that you've heard that take, yippee. Andy Beshear. Oy. Let's see here. Oh, this is funny. They keep going after Biden. This is the biggest, let me put it this way. This is the biggest CYA I have ever seen in my entire life. And you don't know what CYA means, cover your backside, let's say. The media is in total CYA mode. They have been like this for the last probably 2 months, maybe 3. It is pathetic to see. I mean, these are just the ones I checked. Now, if you're looking at the screen, you can see this. I've got from Vanity Fair 2 days ago, Democrats can't ignore damning new details about Joe Biden's decline. The New York Magazine 2 days ago, the biggest revelations in the new book on Biden's decline. Let's see here, 3 days ago, how Joe Biden handed the presidency to Donald Trump. Okay, so, and again, that's just the ones I checked. There are tons of stories about this. Tens, if not, maybe 20s or, into the 20s that I could find. It's easy, laughably easy. But here's the second shoe that's dropping. This is 3 days ago. Small nodule found on Biden's prostate during routine exams, spokesperson says. Now, my question is this. First of all, did Biden know he was getting a prostate exam? And if he didn't, did he get kind of irritated and upset when all of a sudden he had something in a very uncomfortable place? What's going on back there? Hey! All right. A small nodule was found in the prostate of former President Joe Biden during a recent physical exam. The discovery necessitated further evaluation, the AP reported Tuesday, citing a spokesperson. Now, no comment in here on whether they were actually in the room when this happened. Spokesperson for Biden did not immediately respond Tuesday to multiple requests for comment from Fox News Digital. So, isn't it interesting? They start talking about this, and now they're putting this out there. And what this is a slow, how do I put this? This is the first little seed of a tree. Now, what's going to happen is this. If Biden has Parkinson's, which a lot of people suspect he does, at some point it will probably take his life. I hope that is not for a very long time so he can enjoy his grandkids and his family. But they are going to blame. They're doing this to get first of all get attention off. I bet Biden will get sick. Something will happen and Biden will be sick, right? So it'll be, oh, poor Joe, he's sick. And they'll do that to try and shift the narrative away from what we all know happened in Biden's term as president. He wasn't there. The auto pen was Joe Biden. To, oh, you know what? He served his country for years as a senator and then vice president under Barack Hussein Obama. And, then Plugs was president himself for 4 years, supposedly. Oh, that's just tragic, da-da-da-da. It'll be a sob story. That's what they're doing with this. Don't doubt me. They are trying to set this up to where they can hide behind this. Now, Jake Tapper is the one that's writing this new book, and I find it hilarious that Jake Tapper is writing a book on the media missing the boat on this, considering Jake Tapper was in the media and is in the media. Jake missed it just like everybody else. In fact, he was, I would argue, as complicit as anybody else in covering it up. So I will be very interested to see what this book says. I need to start reading those other two books plus this one. I really do. So I can kind of give you a report on this. But again, I find it hilarious that the media is just absolutely going bananas trying to go into CYA mode on this. By the way, I found another one. Biden aides discussed putting him in a wheelchair for potential second term. Oh, by the way, they were going to wait till after the election. So at what point, I guess my question then is, what point does this become fraud? I don't know how you would try it, but at what point do we start asking these people, these aides and stuff, hey, so you were complicit in trying to sell a lie to the American people. Why should we trust you? And then if the Republicans are really smart, and I'm not saying they are because they, like I said, try and find defeat and snatch it from the jaws of victory. If the Republicans were smart, I would start asking, hey, who in the Democrat National Committee knew about this? Who in the party itself knew about this? How many candidates? Especially if it's someone like Andy Beshear. Hey, Andy, did you ever have any indication that President Biden, so-called President Biden, wasn't all there? Because, you met with him on such and such an occasion, if he did. And it doesn't necessarily need to just be Andy Beshear, but anybody that we want to put in an uncomfortable position, the Republican Party, I mean. Hey, talk to us about the time when you met Biden. What did you see? Did you see that he was declining? Really? Because about this time, this happened and this happened and this happened. So you're saying you didn't see that at all, that you had no clue. Okay, people of this district or this state, depending on what level of office you're running for here, walk me through how we can trust this person to be the representative or senator or governor when they couldn't see what was right in front of them. Or worse yet, they were complicit in covering it up. Walk me through how we can trust them. I'm just saying. That's something I would seriously be looking at right now if I was the RNC. Have to. You have to. No doubt about it. You have to do that. All right. We'll cut it off there for now. This has been the Chris Richman Show, segment 2 for Friday, May 16th, 2025. Want to appreciate you for joining us here. Hope you have a great weekend, great rest of your day, of course, but a great weekend as well. Go out and enjoy it. Hopefully the weather is nice. We're getting close to Memorial Day weekend. Me personally, I'd go out and do what I wanted to do this week or this weekend, the next weekend, because yikes, it's a zoo anywhere there's water on Memorial Day weekend generally. But whatever you do, I hope you have fun doing it. Of course, as always, and above all, God bless you. See you Monday.